And welcome to the super fun, awesome, happy time. Let's cram lots of stuff into one pedal and make it really hard for reviewers to review it because there's so much stuff in it, and it'll be a really long video with chapter marks. Pedal show. My name is Gabor.
Oh, best intro yet. Hey, welcome along. I'm Alex. We're going to check out the LVX today from Meris.
Yes, big thank you to the awesome people at Studio Connections in Australia, who are the Australian Meris distributors, Paul and everyone there, for sending this out to us.
Very cool. We've done some other Meris stuff in the past. It's always
Polymoon.
Super cool. Polymoon is one of those. Always super fun, kind of
Awesome and happy kind of sort of way.
Like instruments in themselves.
Oh yeah, this
so
thing.
You can lose an afternoon or
this thing. So strap yourselves in, folks. This could be a lengthy video because there's a lot to it.
Please hit like and subscribe on the video, thumbs up, all that good stuff. Helps us do our thing. And so you know, to hear it, we're just going straight into the console, but via some UAD plugins, just a clean plexi thing. So
just so you can have a
stereo.
Yeah, the cleanest possible stereo kind of images you can possibly have, because it is rather stereo.
Oh, super stereo.
So what is the LVX, I ask Alex?
What is it? I don't even know how to spell it.
Well, I thought I did I'm in charge of the bad jokes here, not you.
Just trying to keep up.
So the LVX, it's basically, it's sort of I think they call it a modular ambient machine or something like that. I think that's what they actually call it. And that's sort of what it is. So it's lots of different types of delays, and in every possible way of modulating it you can possibly imagine, with filters, with drive, with this, with that. So there's lots going on.
Should we just start at the top?
Let's just start at the top. So should we start off? Let's just go through a couple of presets, and then
explain how it works.
Explain sort of how it all works. So let's start with this one. I don't think you can play fast staccato stuff with this. It's all slow chords.
No, that was slow staccato stuff.
Was it slow staccato stuff? Okay.
That was all echo.
Well, and I mean, I'm just going to random. This is called Tape Boost. This is actually quite pretty. Let's go high up. Let's go randomly there. 49. Syndrome. Bit Wonder. No, I think that's actually TPZ ref tape. So that's pedal zone. Stefan. Actually, if you want to watch a really good video of this pedal, watch Stefan's video up here. He's the master with this sort of stuff. Anyway, so just a couple of presets. I think here's some blank. Okay, 82's blank. Let's check out. Let's see what it is at its core. At its core, it's a delay pedal.
Yes.
Right, and you basically have these 4 controls, which are always there and are always ready to go. So you have your time control, and as soon as you touch it, this kind of screen comes up and it shows you roughly where you are within the time control. You have a feedback control, you have the modulation control, and you have the mix control, right? So that's basically at its core. These never change. You have these 2, which you can pretty much reassign to be any of your 2 favorite parameters, or the ones you want to use on a patch per patch basis. At the moment, they're set to delay type and delay structure. Which are the 2 basic things, right? So, at its core, if you go into the delay type, and it's probably very hard to read on here, but at the moment it's set to digital. You basically have 3 types. You have digital, you have BBD, and you have magnetic. So digital is basically a straight digital delay, which sounds like this. You have modulation, but you can get rid of the modulation if you want. So it's basically, at the moment, the way it's set, it's a straightforward delay with delay time, feedback, there's your modulation, that's your mix. But now what we can do is we can go to the next one. We can go to BBD, so that's bucket brigade style, analog style. Straightforward bucket brigade analog style delay. Cool. The third one is magnetic, so it's a tape style delay, so reminiscent of like the Roland Space Echo, that sort of stuff. And the modulation is quite different between all 3 of them. So, I mean, you can pick whichever one you want. That's your basic, the most basic, right,
sure,
of this. There's way more, but that's the most basic. Now, you also have the structure. So, structure we have at the moment, it's just a standard delay. But we can go to multi-tap delay. So now you have multiple heads, basically.
Sure.
Feedback down. Now, but now you can have that multi-tap delay as at the moment it's a tape delay multi tap delay, but you can also have a digital multi-tap delay. Or bucket brigade,
yep,
multi-tap. So for each one of those structures, there's more structures. That's just the first one. But for each one of them, you can still do all 3 of them. So you have multi-tap. You also have multi-filter. So now you have a filter applied. and I went to the magnetic to tape, and now it's on digital. You also have
very fun.
A poly, which is basically like the polymoon.
Oh yeah.
Similar sort of idea to the polymoon, which sounds like it. But now, for example, it's a tape-style polymoon, right? So you have more options because the polymoon is just digital, but it's
so fun.
We're literally just scratching the surface. Then you have reverse. So now, again, you have the 3 different delay types, but in reverse. So you had, that was a tape delay that was reverse, and then went to digital as well.
Very cool.
Then you have series, so it's basically delays running in series.
Different key.
And then back to standard.
Right on.
So that's what's called your structure. So it's your delay structure and your delay type. That's at its most basic, right? So you have those different structure types, and then you have the 3 different delay types for each structure. Now, which one did you prefer out of those?
Maybe the magnetic tape.
Magnetic tape? And
nice.
which structure did you want?
Oh, I don't know. What was the one we did before reverse?
The poly one.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go with that. So, let's just take that as a starting point now,
Okay.
right? So far, we just have a delay. We decided what type and what structure we want, right? Now, next thing you got to do, you have this knob here. And as soon as you put... Right now, we're sort of in the preset mode, basically. So there's preset number 82... tells you the structure, you can name it, all that sort of stuff. If you push that button, you go into what's called the sort of more edit mode. And now, right now, it shows you those knobs. But if you turn this, you now go into your more edit mode, right? So it's these bubbles. It's whether you like the bubbles thing or not. You can also have it without a graphic thing. You can have it more as a menu kind of thing. But once you get used to it, the bubbles are quite good. So basically, the bubble in the middle tells you what you're looking at. So at the moment, you're looking at the delay, right? Now, this knob has become your select. So with this, you're changing the bubbles. And whatever bubble is on the top left, and sort of with the kind of sheen, kind of pinky, kind of blue sheen, that's the bubble you're looking at the moment. So we're looking at delay. So within delay, you have the delay structure where you can set it. So at the moment we set the poly, right? You can also change the delay type, which is magnetic, which we've done already. You can change the delay time. You can also change the division of what's happening on the left, which at the moment is off. You can change the division on the right. So you can change the divisions, tap divisions on your left and your right. You can change the feedback. You can change a crossfeed. Now, crossfeed is where it kind of goes back and forth between the left and right speaker. You can add modulation to it. You can add a dimension to it, which is also like a chorusing kind of thing.
Yeah, cool.
You can add different... you can the multiplication of your taps, like, again, what kind of taps, and the levels. So you can basically edit the delay itself. But by turning this, you're going to the next thing now. So we're looking at what else you can apply to it. You also have dynamics. So dynamics meaning you have compression or swell or diffusion or limiter. Now, I think swell is something that might be nice with this. So swell means it's like an auto swell. So if you play it now, it will sound like this. The delay swells in. But you can now also, you can set gain, you can set the attack, how fast, how slow you want it to be. But you can also select the location. Now again, I don't know how good you can read this or not, but with the location, at the moment it's set to pre. You can set it to pre and dry. So now, for example, your dry signal is affected by the swell as well. So that's quite pretty, for example. So I reckon let's leave it at that, right? So that's dynamics. So you can add compression to it. It changes the way the delays react. Next thing we can do after dynamics, you also have a preamp. So you can add saturation to it. And you can do the same thing. So you can change where you want the saturation to happen. Do you want it to happen just in the repeats? Do you want it to happen on your dry signal as well? Do you want it, you can change your location. So let's look at the different types. So at the moment, you can set it to, well, it's off. You can set it to a volume pedal style thing, which we want to. Tube saturation, let's check that out. So this is now adding tube saturation. So at the moment you have that saturation in the feedback loop of the delay, but you can also set it, for example, you want it to be on your clean signal as well. And if you now turn a mix down, you have a distortion pedal. But so you can do that. You have different types now. So for example, you have this tube drive, you have transistor style drive, you have an op amp style drive, you have a drive, you have a bit crusher. Now, do you want the drive to be on your dry signal too, or just the repeats?
I think just the repeats.
Just the repeats?
Should we take the swell off to hear some more of the next stuff?
Yeah, okay. Let's go back to dynamics.
Let's get into some other fun things.
Let's turn it off, so we don't have any dynamics. So now, so you've got at the moment, you have an op amp style preamp. But you want it just in the repeats, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. So happy with that?
It's lovely.
So that's a preamp, right? Next, filters.
Filters.
I mean, that's the thing. It's sort of a limitless kind of thing. It goes on forever, this pedal. Filters. So now basically you have different filter types. You have a ladder style filter, a state variable style filter. Now they're both taken more from synth kind of things. You've got, those style filters. You also have a comb filter, which is kind of more vowel-like filter. And you have a parametric filter. Now, what kind of filter would you like to have?
No idea.
Let's just start off with a parametric filter.
Start with one.
Or let's start, actually, comb filter is probably the weirdest sounding one. You have a stereo spread. Let's apply some stereo spread to it.
Love some.
Let's try a different filter. Let's go just a parametric filter. Now within that, you also can now change the topology. So you want high pass, low pass, or band pass.
Yep.
I don't know. Let's go band pass. I don't know.
Pass.
Let's turn the resonance up a bit. So now you've got a band pass filter on your repeats only. So you apply a filter to it.
That's cool.
Next, pitch. So let's add some pitch. So you've got polychromatic pitch. So basically what it means, it's a chromatic pitch shifter that works polyphonically, so you can play chords. So this is what that sounds like.
Play this chord.
It was sent an octave down before. That's why it was sort of harder to hear. But you can set it to whatever you want. You can even be 11 semitones up.
Do you?
Yes.
Oh, it just kicked in.
And then you can, again, set the locations. At the moment, it's only in the feedback loop, but you can have it on your dry signal as well. And I mean, technically then, you can just use it as a...
Bleep, 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 bleeps.
Yeah,
Bleep,
for
bleep,
blip, blip, blips. Let's try a different one. Let's try type. So you can... Next one, harmony. So now you can set a harmony, like a harmonizer, basically. Again, we can... Let's have it on your dry signal as well. The pitch on the left is a third.
Yeah.
The pitch on the right is a fifth.
Cool.
And you're in a kifsy. So go for it. C minor now.
The second saddest of all keys.
Yeah. Harmonic minor. Melodic minor. Pentatonic. Just go major. Back to major. You can also add a glide to it, so it glides into the note. Glides into the note if you want it to be. You also have, next one, microtune. You also have monochromatic, so you can play mono thing. You have one of the kind of cool sounding ones is a lo-fi one, so you can make it, it's kind of glitchy. feedback loops. It's just in your repeats now, for example. That went a bit out there for a second. But
that's interesting.
And then you can turn it off. So do you want any pitch?
No.
No? Okay.
I don't know what to do with it.
Next one.
It's cool, but...
Modulation.
Yo.
So now we need to modulate this.
Of course.
So now you have modulation types. Chorus.
That's a thing.
Yeah. So chorus modulation. Flanger. And then of course, you can go in and adjust the speed of each and the depth of the flanger and all that. I mean, it's just another layer you can add. And that's on top of the modulation you usually have. So you can add the normal modulation in as well. You have a dynamic flanger, so envelope controlled flanger. You've got a cassette emulation.
Of course, thank God. I was about to kick it out the door. Well, that's horror movie soundtrack stuff, right?
And yeah, you can change how cassette you want it to be, how much it slips.
Cassette.
Cassette, yeah. And again, you can just set it to be on the dry signal as well, so you can use it.
So you can play cowboy songs. Yes.
Exactly.
More cowboy songs.
Now, we can also have, where is the type? Here. Cassette. We can also have a barber pole phaser style thing.
Ah.
And you can have, just got to also type, granular. That's interesting. I love it. So that's kind of like Autobit kind of stuff, which, by the way, you can watch the Autobit video up here. I love that sort of stuff. And when you have it sort of subtle in the background, it just adds this whole vibe to it. It sounded really cool, I thought.
Yeah. That's nice.
And within that as well, then you can have the granular bits go forward, go backwards. You can select how big the samples are. I mean, it's so deep. That's what you could spend hours, literally hours on this. Days on this, and you wouldn't scratch the surface because there's so much going on. Because you can change the size of the repeats because it captures these little granules off the sound. You can say it basically takes tons of little samples, and you can say, do you want the samples to be super tiny? I mean, you go from
super tiny
104.8 milliseconds.
Sure.
But you can make them smaller, bigger. You can take all these different kind of snippets. So you can we won't go into all of that because it's so deep. You have a ring modulator, which is your favorite kind of stuff.
Love my ring modulator.
So the ring modulator is modulated, and you can say whether you want a square wave shape, a sine, you know, you can change the wave shape. You can change the frequency of the ring modulator, so you can tune it. Also the location where you want it to be. So you can, again, with the ring modulator, technically, if you want to just have a ring modulator, you can have a ring modulator. Like a modulated ring modulator.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Next, off. So that's the modulation types. So which one did you like? I'm going to say chorus is probably the kind of thing you're into.
No, I like the sample and hold thingy.
Oh, okay. Oh, really?
Yeah, that was neat.
Okay, the granulize, I think it's called. So it's the Autobit stuffing. Oh, but before we had it...
I think it was just on the repeats.
It was on pre. So that's the bits go backwards now.
Backwards bits.
Backwards bits. And that's the bits going forward. Forward? Okay.
Forward, yeah.
So that's the modulation, right?
Yep.
Then you have the mix part. So in the mix part, you can select, again, you can select how much wet, how much dry, you can trim it, you can do, there's so much stuff you can do with it. Again, we won't go really into it because mix is mix. Then we've got the looper, which we'll get into as well. And you can with the looper as well, you can assign whether you want the looper to be after all the delays,
sure,
in front of the delays, but after what you play. You know, you can set location for it. We'll get into the looper later in the video. Now, if you think that wasn't quite enough, you also have modifiers.
What?
So modifiers are basically, you have two LFOs,
yes.
There's two different LFOs, and an envelope. So envelope meaning if you play something, depending on how hard you hit it, it will do things. Now, those two LFOs, you can let's just have a look, right? So for example, LFO A, right? You can assign the speed. You can also, there's also a sequencer, step sequencer. And you have 16 steps, and each step you can actually assign to what you want it to do. Within the modifier. You have, let's go, these are all the 16 steps. This is step 3, step 2, step 1. You assign a sequencer, whether you want it, again, where you want it to be, where you want the sequencer to be in. You have the divisions of the sequencer, which is all to do with tab. Sequencer speed. Sample and hold you have as well in there. You can assign, in each one of them you can assign to separate things. You can also assign a speed, the envelope. So you have an envelope. You can assign an envelope to any of the parameters you can control. You can assign an envelope to. You can also assign what kind of shape you want the envelope to be. You can, on the LFOs, you can assign what kind of shapes you want the LFOs to be, whether you want them sine, square, triangle, yada, 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 yada. Yep. So you can assign to any parameter, you can assign any of those modifiers. And it's like, kind of like with Chase Bliss stuff, someone twists a knob for you.
Gotcha.
So do you want to assign any modifier to any of the parameters?
Do I?
I don't know. Let's just try something. Let's just, for example, do, I don't know, let's just do something simple like an LFO. Let's go to LFO A. What kind of shape do we want LFO A to be? Do you want it to be a triangle wave, a sine wave, a square wave?
An octagon.
A 3-step up wave, a 3-step down wave, a 4-step up wave, a 4-step down wave, a ramp up, ramp down, or triangle?
Ramp up.
Ramp up? Okay, we want it to be a ramp up one. Now, divisions, I don't worry about it too much. The speed, do you want it to be something? Well, I mean, we'll get into that once we get, we actually know what we're going to want to do with it. Now, LFO A, let's assign it. So you can assign it to the delay time. You can assign it to the divisions, which we don't do because we don't have the tap tempo set up. You can assign it to the feedback. So the feedback gets ramped up and down. You can assign it to the crossfed, which is the stereo spread.
That could be fun.
You can. So which one? Crossfed?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's assign it to that. So it's assigned to that now.
Yep.
We set. You can also set the maximum and minimums to the starting point. So do you want it to start on 0 and end on full, and then go back? May as well. Let's just do that.
Sure.
Why not?
Because
you look confused.
So it'll be like all the way across stereo, yeah?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
And then the speed. So let's now. So this is now that crossfade. So it'll change the crossfade with the LFO. So it's, unless we have to hang on, we may have to go back to the delay and actually set up the crossfade. Yeah. Okay, we don't have any crossfade. Okay, so that's why it hasn't done anything. So what it does is, I mean, I think the crossfade is there anyway, but what it does is it changes the crossfade from being more and less.
Yep.
Basically, that's what the LFO does.
It ramps it. So.
It ramps it. The other thing we can now do is we can go back to the modifiers. Now let's, instead of doing that, let's assign it to something that you can really hear, like the. I mean, because you can assign it to everything. So there's delay level, delay modulation.
But the delay time.
The delay time, I'm sure you can. The resonance, the
pitch.
filter topology.
Wow.
Uh,
Next level.
delay time. So now it's doing the delay time.
You can hear that.
So if we now turn the speed of the LFO down, that does it really slowly.
You thought that was a good idea.
No, but I mean, it just means you can, whatever you want to do, you can do with it. You can assign it to the feedback, so it gives you more feedback, less feedback, very slowly. So it brings in more feedback, less feedback. So let's just leave it at that, right? So again, so you have two LFOs, two completely separate LFOs, which you can assign to any parameter of any of the things. So the filter, you can assign it to the drive. So you can, for example, have more drive, less drive. It modifies the drive. You can have it as set to an envelope. So anything, right? You can also have it to that step sequencer. So you assign different steps to it, and it ramps through the 16 different steps. I mean, it's super deep. And then you can do all that also with an expression pedal.
Yeah.
So an expression pedal, you can assign it to any parameter or multiple parameters.
Yep.
And it will do any of them in whichever way you want to do it. Again, we won't go too far into it.
You're crazy, Mr. Meris.
Yes, they are very crazy with this. And then you have global settings. And crickets has started cricketing.
Yeah.
You have global settings where you have, for example, you can set your global tempo. You can set. You also have a tuner built in, which we actually haven't even gotten to yet. You can change the brightness of the screen and all that sort of stuff, and whether you have a kill dry, whether you have trails or not.
Yeah.
No trails. I mean, with this, how do you don't not have trails?
Yeah.
I mean, generally with delays and reverbs, you don't not have that. That's all your global parameters. But that's and then you have your system info. But that's basically, and again, really just scratching the surface, what this can do, right? Now, the other thing we haven't looked at yet is if you push those two buttons together, you have a tuner.
Cool.
And again, you just go back by pushing any of the other buttons. Now, you have your tap function. If you hold the tap function in, that little thing comes up. See that little...
Ah.
Now you're in your looper. So you have a 60-second looper.
Cool. Thank God.
Which you can loop, and then it plays your delay that what we just made up. But as you're playing, you can actually switch to different delays. You can change the delay type. It's kind of similar if you use the DL4, the line 6. It's a similar sort of kind of system. But you also have these two loop switches, Loop FX1 and Loop FX2. Now if we go back, right, into here, and we go to looper, again, you can set the location. Do you want it to be post-mix? Do you want it to be pre and dry? Do you want it to be pre? Do you want to put it just in effects loop, post? Wherever you want to put it. You can put it wherever you want to put it.
I think post.
Post. Let's go post.
Yeah. So
Loop effects 2. So you can assign it. So at the moment, it's set to half speed or reverse. But you can set it to just reverse, to just half speed, or both. You also have Loop effects 1, which you can set to re-trigger. So it basically starts the loop again.
Yep.
So you can do quick one-shots. You can set it to do an expression pedal warp. So we'll actually let's set it to that. But you can also set it to play once or re-trigger. So let's do the expression pedal warp. So now let's go out of this. Let's go into the looper. And again, that little thing is on, so we know when the looper setting. So let's record something with that delay that you just set up before.
Okay.
And that's kind of the expression pedal thing, which we don't actually have. But I mean, that's basically in a nutshell a looper. You can overdub, you can do whatever you want to do. You've got a 60-second looper. Now again, depending on where you put it in the chain. Oh, the other thing I forgot, you can also set feedback. So feedback, you can if you set the feedback on full, it's an infinite loop.
Ah.
If you set the feedback lower, it'll gradually fade out.
Decay
you know,
away.
that Fribotronics kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you can set your decay for it. You can also set the loop level. So location, maybe if we don't put it post, maybe let's put it in the loop. I reckon that's where I would put it. But anyway, I mean, it doesn't really matter. That's basically the... and also the other thing you can do, so you can technically, if you're playing the loop... No, because it's post, it recorded the delay, so you can't change the delay.
Ah, I see.
That's what, yeah.
Okay, cool.
But you can change the delay type if you don't set it to post.
Okay.
If you set it to pre, because then you record what you're playing and then it goes into
dry
the
signal goes into it. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Aha.
And that delay was still going. But I mean, that's basically
Smooth.
40, almost 50 minutes later. That's basically what that does. So should we just do, maybe, just to end the video with, do a couple of sort of
More
sound ideas
Yes.
that we can come up with and just do a little bit of playing.
Sounds like a plan.
Let's do that. And that's the LVX by Meris. Well, kind of sort of scratching the surface, but there's you can go much deeper. But I mean, this is already a almost hour-long video, so yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, especially if you do things like film score, TV score, even gaming music.
Yeah,
it'd be super cool for that kind of stuff.
Well, I think actually Christian Hansen, the Spitfire dude, did a video with that. And the dog did too, yes.
It'd be amazing to put some keys or electric piano through it. That'd be awesome.
Well, I think he did that. If you want to watch that, I'll link to the video here.
Love the piano player, so check that out. Thanks again to Paul from Studio Connections here in Australia for sorting us out for the demo.
Don't mind the cameras or anything, just go and make them all jiggle. Dog's gone. Yes, thank you, Paul. And I'll put up a playlist with all the Meris stuff at the end.
If you also please check out the links below to Instagram, Facebook, and podcast. And leave your comments, questions below. What do you think? Do you dig the LVX?
Yes, let us know.
Thanks for hanging. See you soon.
Playlist.